Welcome to The Leaders Who Care, a podcast powered by Dynamis Group. We are here to give the stage and support to those committed to create a positive and lasting impact, way beyond the profits and margins, the leaders of the world who care for others and serve a bigger purpose. Join us on the journey of creating a better, more caring world. And now to your host, Marian Temelkov.
Happy Wednesday, dear audience. Today we have a great opportunity to welcome two exceptionally gifted leaders. I say that, and we're going to talk about their favorite topic, which is about talent. To me, they've done some incredible work, and follow them. And I think there's so much value, will be so much value to hear from them about number of topics, but amongst them is future of talent. Amongst them is how to attract great people and retain them, and many others. So I basically urge people to stay tuned and follow this episode, even if they cannot listen to it. On the Leaders Who Care, we're on a mission to give stage to leaders who care to make a better world and come from every corner of the world, regardless of their background. Today, thank you so much, dear Yasar and Thomas, for joining the Leaders Who Care. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, Marian.
Thank you, Marian.
It's a pleasure being here. I'm excited to talk with you about Leaders Who Care, me personally, and Thomas as well.
Yeah, absolutely. From my end, also great to be here and highly appreciate.
Great. Well, guys, because this is the first episode we've done that. So we're doing things we've never done before, which is the right place. You are doing things you never done before, I'm sure, and you inspire many to do. So thank you for really being together, first of all. What an honor to have the first team on the Leaders Who Care. And what I would like to do, rather than just ask you for to introduce yourself, would you mind to introduce each other? So Yasar, would you mind to introduce Thomas? And Thomas, would you mind to introduce Yasar? Because that would be fantastic to hear from what even you think. For you guys, it would be a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to introduce Thomas. So Thomas is one of the most emotionally intelligent leaders I know. He joined my team back in December 2021 at HelloFresh. He is the global head of talent acquisition for all our commercial roles in HelloFresh. He leads quite a large team. He's German, based in Berlin. Probably one of the nicest leaders I've met in a very long time. Provides me a lot of confidence. And when I heard about this podcast, the first person I wanted to do it with, and that was my condition, I want to do it with Thomas. So that's Thomas for you. And hopefully you can do some justice to me as well, Thomas.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. Thanks. So Yas is the VP Talent at HelloFresh since, correct me if I'm wrong, Yas, but it was July as you started. And Yas is leading tech, number one priority for HelloFresh because we are a tech company. Besides that, he's leading commercial. And we have two other pillars now. It's talent marketing and also talent operations. I would describe Yas as a passionate leader. He's caring, he's a good listener. And I heard a lot of things in the past from him, from Zalando. And, from a network, when you're in HR, you listen to others. And then when I had a call with him in August, I was like, click, let's work together. And now we are here.
Fantastic. What a great dynamic, guys. I mean, this is when I hear this, when I see it and feel it, you guys are going places. I know that. And I would love to hear a lot about the work you do. But first of all, you are exceptionally gifted individuals and leaders, and I really honor the work HelloFresh is doing to really make the world a better place and through the food. How did they manage to attract you? What attracted you, to join this mission, this business? Because you guys are the future. Well, you're the present and the future, and there's so many companies that want talent, exceptionally gifted people like you. So if you give advice to CEOs and leaders, what are you looking for in a company? What attracted you to HelloFresh?
Yeah, maybe I'll go first.
Yes, please.
So for me, what's important is purpose. Having a strong purpose, the organization has, and throughout my entire career, I've always worked for very sustainable organizations, and HelloFresh it was born out of the idea of being more sustainable. If we think about it, the food that we eat today, a lot of it goes to waste in production. A lot of the time and effort, just if I don't know if anybody's ever grown any in this call, grown any vegetables, but just to grow like a tomato takes months, weeks. And then imagine that as the scale of consumption one person does, and then transporting it to the farms, harvesting it, getting it to the supermarket to your house. Just the journey, the CO2, everything is affecting our environment. And so for me, what I wanted to do next in my career is work for an organization that was trying to do some good for the world. And when I first heard about HelloFresh, the first thought that was in my mind is that it's just a food meal kit provider. But when I learned more about the organization and what was their long-term mission is to make the world a healthier place, make meals more sustainable, food more sustainable, that's when I started getting more and more intrigued. And then I learned about their challenges and their growth. And what's really interesting, most people don't know, is that HelloFresh is 20,000 employees. They did $6 billion of revenue last year. They doubled inside last year. So it was massive amounts of growth within really strong purpose. And I think if that story is well articulated to anybody, doesn't matter what level you are, I think you really can nail that attraction piece for a lot of candidates. That was why I joined.
Love it. What a great mission, and thank you for sharing that. And Thomas, what about you?
I can sign it completely. What Yasar said. For me, it's, I would say, besides purpose, also culture. Because at HelloFresh, and this was the experience in my interview, and also when candidates reach out to me and say on LinkedIn or on other tools like, hey, how can I work for HelloFresh? What needs to come in? I think HelloFresh has provided since 10 years a great culture, a culture of appreciation, a culture of challenges. We have strong KPIs, we have metrics, but the key here for me is like the transparency. How transparent we are with our KPIs, with our metrics, internally and also externally. Because one story on that, last week, someone reached out to me and said, Thomas, your tech TA radar, what is that? There are tools and more professional leaders not aware. And I said to them, hey, reach out to our colleagues from tech, reach out to our colleagues from other departments and speak with them. And this is one, when it comes to culture, I think one key for me from my last experiences was like more in, you work in a bubble, you work in a company, and you don't provide with information outside. But here at HelloFresh, it's completely different. And last sentence for me on that is, that drives me every day, me, my team, and I think also Yasar.
Couldn't say it better.
Well, this is great, and thank you for sharing that. I'm very optimistic, maybe because I'm personally a natural optimist for the future. But when I hear what you guys do, it just gives me more hope, more kind of energizes me for the better world. Of course, we're always going to have challenges, but you represent really a great even the generations that you're dealing with, and how big is your team today? Yes, and in terms of, just give us a little bit of an idea, and
yeah, sure.
What is the typical generation? What generations? Yeah. How they vary to understand better.
We have over 100 nationalities in HelloFresh, and in our TA team, we have a significant amount. Our entire talent acquisition function across HelloFresh is roughly around about 200 individuals, and that's grown significantly. In the last 6 months, I think we've added additional 40 to 50 individuals to the team globally, from the US, Canada, UK, Japan, Australia, Berlin, Nordics, France. So we're quite a well-staffed team, I'd say, but we're also well prepared and very proactive in our approach of how we kind of work on things. So a lot of our growth right now is to prepare for the future, because you get the recruitment team right, and then you can attract everybody into the organization with the team. So we're a sign of what's to come.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That is incredible. When I look at it, you said double in size in 1 year. A lot of companies are listening now and say, how do you do that? And you're right, so much, because days in the past, I think we're living in the best time, especially for understanding talent and talent acquisition, because a lot of young people not refusing to work, they're refusing to work in the old way. And there's really so much that they're looking for nowadays. And you said something about preparing for the future. What is the future of talent attraction? How can companies prepare for what's coming for the next 5 to 10 years? Because that's a whole generational understanding. And how can we link that up to the current generation or let's say the more senior generation that is leading those organizations that need to understand better?
I can give you two answers. Essentially, we have one view, which is the talent acquisition view, and then we have a business view. But from a business perspective, what I think is coming is multiple career paths, multiple careers. So what that means is, and how that translates is, the younger generation, the new employees, the early careers, they want more flexibility. They also want to, why do they have to work for one company? Why can't they work for two companies? So now what's happening is there's a trend in driving focus and purpose. And shortly there'll be a trend based on the kind of acceleration of COVID as well. This trend of, I want to work for you at HelloFresh, and I also want to go work at Google. So can I do 3 days with you and 2 days with Google? And I think this loyalty to a brand is dropping more and more because of our fixation on, we're a very consumerist age right now, where everything is consumed at super speed. So I think the career paths people have were already shortening from average tenure of 5 years to 3 years to 2 years. And now it's going to get to a stage where people are like, okay, I'll do 12 months with you, and then I'll go work with 12 months another, unless you give me 2 opportunities and I work with you for the next 2 years, and then I also work with another company for another 3 years, and I do it in parallel. And this kind of removes a lot of stress and pressure from this generation that wants this, because they feel that they have 2 opportunities to do well. And it's kind of about not putting all your eggs in one basket. And it's like kind of this mentality of creating multiple streams of income by dispersing. And so with a more savvy, more well-educated, more financially acute generation coming into the workforce now, they're questioning the status quo. And that's what's going to change the game over the next 10 years.
Wow. I'm just thinking, there's also a counter argument. I would love to hear your thoughts, Thomas, as well.
Yes.
And one of them is, because of someone who's really deeply cares about the new generation, and as a founder of Leader Academy, and I see a lot of young people that they want to climb this mountain. They want to make a difference. They want to be successful. But sometimes to get to which mountain and that road to it is a bit muddled up, and they don't know, and that because of the self-discovery process. So they need to self-discover and grow, and that's why guidance and coaching is essential. And what you just said, it makes so much sense, and so much there's so much value in that, because young people, if they are given the opportunities through internships or multiple options to work like 2 or 3 companies in a week or so, that will give them the necessary experience to decide what they want to do. But then the question I have, Yas, is I believe that at some point when you decide what you really want to do and you're passionate about, you got to focus on that and nail it. And if you want to become one of the best in the world, or if that's important to you. Because if it's not, and there are other priorities, you can continue to be doing 2 or 3 roles here and there, and still be good at it, but maybe have other priorities. What is your thought? How does that impact the excellence piece if you want to really get to the top?
No, it's a great question, and actually it's something I've thought long and hard about. And there's a trend happening right now in Europe for actual talent acquisition partners and what they're doing, and because there's such a lack of recruiters in the industry. At one point there was more recruiter jobs than software engineer jobs on LinkedIn. Recruiters are now taking on multiple contracts simultaneously. So a recruiter will work on a day rate for 3 companies and getting 3 times their income, but they're still producing the same results. And that kind of challenges all the history, like all the prehistoric productivity, because it's like, hold on, how is this even possible? What are they doing? Are they burning themselves out? Are they working extra? No, it's all new at this stage, which I think you're right, there is going to be some purpose. I think what will start happening is more independence. So this kind of consultative model, if you want to become a master in your trade and you want to do your 10,000 hours, I think that will happen, but I think it will be like a curve. So I think naturally what will happen is there'll be this attraction to multiple careers, and then you'll find that after that kind of, it's the same as someone who likes to travel. I like to travel, but after 2 years of flying back and forth to Berlin, I was like, okay, I don't like to travel anymore. You go through this excitement, and then you go down and then back up again. So I think it's like that. I don't think it's going to be an indefinite, this is the way it goes. I think it's going to be kind of like seasonality type, or not seasonal, but more yearly, how people go through their careers. So by mid-30s, they maybe want to settle down a bit more and decide that they want something a bit more structured. But I think the flexibility at the beginning of their careers, exactly what you said, Marian, that opportunity to learn more in a 1 year than they would do in 5 years by trying multiple different things and then finding out what their true path is. I think that's you nailing it on the head there. I think it works in collaboration to that. So I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, maybe 2 points to add here from Yas, and tips for senior leaders, CEOs, startups, and corporates. The thing is, the more attract your internal mobility processes, for example, for junior managers, senior managers in your company, to keep them, because the thing is, and this is the game changer now in comparison to like the decades before, it costs us more as a company to hire a new one instead of keeping the existing employee and moving, train him, and give him other opportunities in the company. And I think the market completely changed, not only in Europe, in the US also. We listen to the Great Resignation, but the thing here is internal mobility is one key part. And the other part is like training the managers. Because if you bring attractive people in and great talents, you have to train them on the job, and train them also manager skills. And this is crucial for a company to keep the retention and churn rate very low.
Yeah, I also think you should, companies need to get over this whole no poach rule, internal no poaching.
Yeah.
If they get over that mentality of you can't poach from my team, obviously within a reasonable time frame, like if someone just joined, it shouldn't be that you should poach them. But I mean, if they've been there for 6 to 12 months or longer, it should be fair game for internal managers to reach out and ask people if they're interested in roles, because that creates the disruption that you need, and that creates the excitement about opportunities. And what's lacking right now, and with the whole COVID world happening and people working from home, those moments of okay, let me do something new, that's something that people are asking themselves more regularly now than before.
I'm just thinking, yes, because you guys are so advanced in what you do, and I'm sure you probably won't say that, but I can see that the results. But what about companies that are nowhere near what you're doing? I mean, just literally, they could have a traditional business. So companies that are doing this for many years, they have stability, but now they're starting to feel the pain. And they're wondering, okay, well, we don't even have a very well-structured talent acquisition team. We have HR business partners. Really, how do we go about this? The leadership is somewhat more traditional, and not blaming them. It's just a matter of who they are and how they're raised up, and it's just how. If you were in that position, how would you approach it? What would you do that can help the company and make a difference?
So earlier I said there's two answers, one which is business orientated, one TA orientated. So I'll give you a TA perspective of what could be a quick win, and then as well as a long-term strategy. Long-term strategy, there's three key areas that every TA team should focus on, but they usually get hung up on the first. And the first is they just need to deliver the headcount, which is I've got to hire 100 people, or I've got to hire 20 people, 1,000 people. Make sure we do that before the end of the year. So most TA teams just focus on reactively trying to deliver those requirements every year, or every quarter, or every half year. And then the second, which gets some attention, but should probably get a lot more, is the process improvement. Okay, so yes, I'm going to focus on delivery, but I'm also going to focus on improving the idle times between processes, improve the candidate experience, improve the employer branding and everything else. And then the third part, which is the part that gets at least 95% of the time gets missed out, is the innovation part. The innovation part is around how do you turn candidates into customers? How do you offer in 24 hours? What do we do with all the thousands of applications that we don't process? What can we do to make them more useful? So using those three tracks, what happens is it creates an environment where you can get a lot of productivity out, because the team morale increases. People start seeing that we're going in the right direction. There's a clear plan that I'm not just going to be a hamster in a wheel delivering numbers. So motivation is a huge part of making sure that you have a successful TA team, because it's quite a repetitive job. And actually, it's probably one of the most disappointing jobs, because you get a lot of rejection. So not only are you hearing as a recruiter, your manager saying you need to hit your numbers, you're also hearing candidates saying, hey, you know what, I've got 5 other offers, sorry, I'm not taking the job. And it's like a constant battle of trying to, so the motivation part is probably more important in the recruitment function than any other function that I know of. But I'm biased because I work in the recruitment function. But if I was a CEO right now, and I'm a traditional organization, and I don't really have an internal mobility function, but I know that there's a problem, my first thing I would do is I would ring up my TA leader or speak to my TA leader, and I would say, find a list of all our employees within our organization. Within that list, I want you to categorize them as people who've been in the organization for 12 months, 18 months, and 24 months. Everybody that's been in the organization at 18 months, who hasn't been promoted, has had a good rating, and is in the same team as when they joined, reach out to them and see if they're interested in all our open current requisitions, right? 9 times out, no, I wouldn't say 9 times out of 10, but I'd say probably around about 50% mark, actually. Most hiring managers are actually willing to train someone on the job if they're able to join sooner, because there's a talent shortage. So as a CEO, what you're doing is you're giving a solution to a hiring manager who's actually sitting there thinking, I need people, it's going to take 3 months to get this person on board. Well, actually, Tom from marketing is interested in sales. Can he interview with you? Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what? Even if he's 50% ready, let's hire for potential. And that mentality shift is going to produce a lot of internal mobility, but also what it's going to do is it's going to create massive amounts of employee engagement and retention, because the employee is going to feel, wow, they're really banking on me. They're really trying. And that is one thing that a lot of large organizations, corporate world organizations like Microsoft, they do really well, because they have been through this whole process and the roles have constantly changed over the years. So more newer organizations, more traditional organizations that haven't gone through these kind of technology advancements and iterations, I think that would be an easy win, a quick win. Doesn't even take time, right? It could be the space of 2 weeks to really get it launched.
Wow. Exceptional value. Yes, thank you for sharing that, because it's not easy, I can tell you, when you're the top. You have so many other things to do, and deal with. But at the end of the day, it's very important to understand talent, to really attract the. Someone said to me, and a great ally and an exceptional leader as well, said to me that the importance of attracting exceptionally gifted people is it makes such a difference that. And I'll give you an example. You mentioned about mobility. The teams today or the people today are looking at also the way they're going to live. Location seems to be very important and more important, which is what you're talking about, the internal mobility. And they look at cities. They look at what city am I going to, I want to live in and experience. And within that city, they can look at the ecosystem and attract. So cities are now competing for talent as well. So it's companies, but also cities. And then if a city is able to retain the talent or exceptionally gifted people in that area and they stay there, if an average time of a key project takes a 30-month period to complete from start to finish, if you have exceptionally gifted people, talented people in your team, that can reduce to 8 months. And these are statistics that I need to confirm. I think they're from one of the leading consultancies. But it also means that if Berlin attracts those people, then let's say London, then Berlin can start that project 2 years later almost and still win over London if there was on a city base, because they have that diverse or talented, gifted leaders or people in their team. So that mobility and what you're just saying is so important, especially if you can offer different cities and link that up to their kind of understanding and passion of at what stage of their life they are. And I just want to share a few comments here, guys, just while we have you. We have here a few people say hello from Canada. Looking forward, Yasar and Thomas, to your ideas. We have Vivian as well that just shared a note.
Oh, perfect. Say hi to her.
Hi, Vivian. And we have also, can we get a recording of this event? So what a great, and Stoyan is also asking a question. Great podcast, Yasar. Thomas, you have experienced major challenges of working from home, hybrid model, HelloFresh, due to the pandemic circumstances. Have you changed the activities when it comes down to personal development initiatives, care for your employees, that you can share? Is there anything that you had to do different, and how did you approach that, especially make it relevant to the current times we're working in?
Yeah, sorry, yes.
No, you go ahead, Thomas.
Yeah, two things here I can share. What helped me in the last 2 years now is make regular check-ins and also adapt it. So if you have a feeling that someone in the team is not so close with the team, make a daily check-in. And communication is the second part, is super important, because when you communicate only via Slack and via WhatsApp, etc., you don't get the topics on the table, and you don't finalize projects, and you don't come to a decision for a stakeholder or for a candidate. So take the phone and call your boss, call your peer or your colleague. This helped me a lot in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I've figured out what really works, but I tried everything from using virtual reality to doing beer Fridays to good cheers to sending people books and packages to everything you could possibly imagine. We've probably tried even in-person events with COVID. And one of the things that I noticed was a trend, and it was because I personally experienced it, was that a lot of the time in this environment right now, you feel like you have to be 100%. And the reality is you don't need to come to work at 100%. Actually, you could be good enough probably at 60, 70%, because you can't focus toward literally your 100% at work. You'll probably have something like, I want to think about the weekend, or am I going to go to the gym? What am I having for dinner? So firstly, just understanding that it's okay to be 60, 70%, but on that day, you will be the best 60% that you are. And I think one thing I really, and maybe I'm going off on a tangent here and it's a long story, but essentially I learned that being the best listener is the best way to provide for your team. And I'll give you an example of this. Obviously I've been traveling to Berlin in and out over the last 2 years, and one day I don't really talk to the taxi drivers, but I decided I wanted to talk to this taxi driver. I don't know, I was in a good mood, and I thought I'd just talk to him, and he told me his life story. He told me the Berlin history, the Berlin Wall, and everything. He told me about his family and his friends, and I learned so much in that 15 minutes than I had learned being in Berlin for over a year. So I tried it again, right? And I asked the next taxi driver, and I just purposely started asking questions. So what do you feel about this? What do you feel about that? And I started to realize that it reminded me, almost me asking him the questions, or she the questions, reminded me of how my kids are with me. My kids are always saying, why dad? Why this? Why this? Why that? Why are you going to work? Why are you going to the gym? Why are you making food? Everything's a why. And they're so inquisitive, right? And as we get older, that inquisitive gets beaten out of us. You shouldn't ask questions. You shouldn't do this, or you should just know, right? So I started to think about it more on a people-focused perspective, and started saying to myself, okay, there's the conscious conversation I'm having right now, but there's also the subconscious conversation I'm not having with this person right now. And let me try tap into the subconscious, which means that I have to go with this extreme transparency view, which is that you probably have said something to me and I need to listen to that, but I also believe that there might be something more to it. Maybe you need some more confidence. Maybe I need to go through it again with you. Maybe I need to be extremely transparent, because in the COVID world right now, what people want, they don't want all the fancy games and tools and everything. They just want a bit of honesty about what's going to happen in the future, or what's going to happen with them, and a bit of reassurance, that psychological safety net. So I don't think there's a short answer, which is do this engagement survey or do this. I think actually if we start treating people as humans, and treating them as human shaped, and kind of providing them solving their problems, not solving processes or how many meetings we should have. I think that's something that is something that works for me, and it's been working ever since I joined HelloFresh, and that's why we've seen, the massive amounts of productivity.
Thank you, guys. Fantastic. Honestly, there's so much value in this. I'm just enjoying it, because I've been in this. This is a passion of mine for many years, over 15 years, and I'm learning new things. And I'm just my brain is thinking already about the potential, the future, and how much can be done in that field. Yes, Thomas. What is the role of care plays into your organization, both in terms of attracting talent and in terms of retaining talent?
You mean care regards to team, regards to loyalty to the company, or you mean care in general?
Care, absolutely. What a kind of great clarification, because if you ask me, I can segment care in many different ways, and you're right. But maybe why don't we put it this way? What form of care do you guys provide and have at HelloFresh that you can share with other organizations to inspire them, that they can deploy and implement? Like you've mentioned some amazing advices that for CEOs that are just in a traditional organizations, because we want to help those companies. We want to make sure that they pivot and really understand. It's about communication and getting a better understanding of what's out there. It's not because of you're trying to do something bad. It's just so when you look at your forms of care, and how did this impact you personally, but also the team you lead?
Yeah, I start. Yes, just some thoughts about this. I think for me, care relates automatically to trust. Trust is for me one key value for me as a person, private and also in work. And if I take care for the team, take care for my manager, take care for my employer, is crucial. Why? The thing is, if I don't care for myself, for example, I don't respect myself. So what happens then? My team reflects it. They see, oh, Thomas is challenging. Thomas is not caring for himself. So the headline should be here for me, like carrying each other is crucial. It starts with yourself. And then if you are shining, going to work and live your life in work and private, it reflects your team. And this will end in a good work, in productivity, in effectivity. And happy to hear your thoughts, Yes, on that.
I love that. I think that's true, right? I was going to say the same thing. I'm glad we're on the same page, because that just shows how aligned we are when we hire people into HelloFresh. No, I believe it starts with you, right? I believe care does start with you. And I give you an example, and shout out to two of my team members, Marta and Maria, who really helped me with this. When I came back from Christmas, I had this weird feeling like, am I good enough? And I shared it with the team. I thought to myself, I'm just going to be open and say, look, you might be a bit nervous, but I'm also nervous to come back. And I'm supposed to be the global VP. And I've just come back from holiday like you all. And I'm a bit nervous. Are we going to do well this year? But it's an imposter syndrome that we all get, this anxiety. And I wanted to be honest. And what I noticed straight away was this kind of overwhelming support from the team. And I realized that care is a two-way street. You know, you care for yourself, people will care for you. You care for others, people will care for you. And it's this kind of all-encompassing kind of view that actually your team is empowering you, not you empowering them as a leader. Because by you caring for them and being honest and being transparent and being helpful and just checking in and doing all these extra things, that's all well and good. But they also empower you by caring for you. And I think I'm probably one of the luckiest leaders I know of, because I have a very caring team. I think I probably have one of the most caring teams I've ever worked with, where they will literally support you, pick you up. They self-organize. People like Thomas, who are just exceptional. You know, and I think that's how I view care. I view care as more of an all-encompassing group effort, as well as you starting with yourself.
Amazing. A very dear friend and a partner, Ellie. Actually, she's a, you know, they call her much more than this, a destiny helper, if you like, in many ways. And she says a leader should have a clear vision of where you want to go and where you're heading, and say thank you at the end. Everything in between is exactly what you said. You know, really taking care of your team and be by their side whenever they need you, if they need you, and recognizing their success, but also be clear of your expectations, what you want and where you're heading is essential, and cover their blind spots. Sometimes they might not see things that, as a leader, you could help them out. That could be, I guess, not only for work perspective, but also general, of how they could have a better life, and vice versa, as you said. I think the new measurement for leaders, guys, is what does your people talk about when they're with their family on a dinner table, and that's probably a good indicator of what do they say about you, and really. But how do you take care of yourself, Yas and Thomas? What do you do to recharge? You do so much work. You are working with a fantastic team, but especially in the last couple of years, has anything changed for you, and what kept you going to operate at such a pace and making such a difference?
Yeah, good question. Basically, I changed my habits. In the past, I was also a hard worker and I love to work. But I learned and I trained myself to log off physically, mentally. This is crucial, I think. Second, there must be a life besides work for everyone, family, friends. But I love to read. I go swimming, not so often. I should go more often. But hobbies is for me crucial. And generally, I think the habits are really, really important, because if you are like, can't think outside the work, so you have to celebrate your family, go out with your children, make new things. every day, every week. I think this is crucial. And then the productivity for you, for your team comes automatically.
Yeah, I agree there. I think for me, my team made a joke when I first joined. They shared a meme. I don't know if you've ever watched Narcos, but Pablo Escobar, there's a picture of him standing looking at his pool and it's empty and it's kind of became a meme. They said that's me every day, just kind of looking out into the abyss. And it's because I made a joke, and it wasn't really a joke. It was more for actually a mandate. I said that everybody should have 4 hours free every day during the day. And I started creating this rule in place to say, like, we can't be in back-to-back meetings, because at the end of the day, you then start your work at the end of the day because you've been in back-to-back meetings all day. So this meeting fatigue is real. So I said, you have to have 4 hours a day. And they said, well, how does that happen? And I said, well, I'm a living proof it can happen. And I now have 4 hours free every single day. And the reason it works for me is because if someone wants to block a time with me, if they can't find the time tomorrow, well, then move it to the next day or the next day or the next day. But I'm not gonna use that 4 hours for these extra meetings, because I need that time to do my work. I need that time for that kind of creativity. And I'm actually, might not come across like this, but I'm actually naturally quite an introvert. So I need time to think and be on my own and use that time to kind of brainstorm ideas as well as with the team. But it needs to be a fair balance. And so this 4 hour rule, a lot of people still kind of make jokes about it. But the other day I said to them, okay, who's doing the 4 hour rule? Keep your hand up. And some of them did, and some of them didn't. And I said, for the ones that didn't, would you be prepared for a 4-day week if you're not prepared for the 4 hours a day? And a lot of them realized the importance that, yes, we could want a 4-day week, but are we ready for a 4-day week if we can't control what our current state is? I think that's the thing, prioritizing what's important during the days. That's helped me mentally clear up a lot of my stress. Knowing that I have time every day to do the work has cleared up massive amounts of stress. Going to the gym every single day, whether it's just walking or whether it's actual weights, that's really helped with my mental health as well. And just being able to give my kids a bath in the evening. COVID has actually been a blessing for me personally. I know it hasn't been for everybody else, but I've been able to spend more time with my family than ever before. And for me, I'm just embracing that as much as possible. And that's why I probably say I would say I'm in the best mental state I've been in a very, very long time.
Just a thought about the 4 hours per day. It was introduced from Yasar to me in December. And I was like, okay, how should I do this? I like A/B testing. And then the third week, it was the week of before Christmas, I said, yeah, it works. Then January starts and it's like, oh no, stakeholders, new jobs, hiring plan on the table. And I said, how should I do it? And I challenged, but I think it was the most productive time when I used the 4 hours, or let's say, 3.5 hours per day. It worked very well. And effective wise, it's great. So great advice to anywhere outside. Try it out and give us feedback.
I love that. And you know what? I've been smiling because I've been trying this out myself. Yes, I really honor what you just mentioned, because the future and one of the most important things I realize is not about money or wealth. It's about our time and joy and wealth. So it's all three of them. It's not one. And that's why sometimes you have people that are very financially wealthy, but they don't have their time. They don't control it, or they're really exhausted, or they don't have their joy and they're miserable in that. And there is a formula how to do all of those things. But what you just said, what's the impact? I mean, imagine like you, Thomas, you probably can share best when you try to fit in everything you have been doing in, 12 hours into 8 hours, let's say, or 4 hours. Imagine from 8 to 4. What happens? You said most productive. So you become sharper, better communicator, more organized. You're disciplined. So all of your virtues of success that was going to get you to that your better shape of yourself start to come on. And this is why it's so challenging. And I love what you just said, yes, because there's so much wisdom in that. It's you're getting everyone to grow, and as you grow together, that's where the joy is. Because if you one of them grows and the other one doesn't, you disconnect. The key is to joy and grow together. And then I don't know what is your take, Thomas. I would love to hear how did that happen. It's easier said than done. What you had to go through to get to that mindset.
For me, honestly, it were like two challenges here. First of all, I'm not a fan of shifting. I want to have solutions. I want to have decisions as soon as possible. This was the first challenge. And the second, I would say, likewise, to provide the team and my peers the best option for that. Because as Yasar said, it was like, how should we do this? We have only 9 hours, including like a lunch break or breakfast, or someone goes to gym. But the thing is, like, you have to try it out. And sometimes you have to be like bold and tough on that with yourself. But this relates to the point back for me, respect yourself, because it's a challenge also with yourself. And the thing is, like, the conclusion here, if you will be a role model or lead by example for your peers and for your leads, they will adapt it sooner or later.
I have one question for you from Stoyan. Again, he's just getting very inspired here, and he's saying, do you believe fun and humor can increase the productivity at the workplace?
Well, 100%. I'm just going to jump in and say it. 100%. One of the key things that we did over the last 6 months is we removed this idea of KPIs and called them health metrics. Just a simple change to say, like, we're not going to focus on driving KPIs and making sure you hit every single number. What we're going to say is, this is your health metrics, which basically shows you like what the average is and what's your compass to go in the right direction. And what we're going to focus on is the bigger ticket items, which is, let's improve our process. Let's improve and innovate our process. How do we innovate beyond just the process as well? Like we said earlier, turning candidates into customers or whatnot. And that drove our productivity up by 250% in the space of 3-4 months. And we had the same amount of TA members, a lot of new members joining, but the motivation went sky high. And it went high because it was a crazy loop as well, because they got motivated, I got more motivated. They got more motivated, I got even more motivated. And it was just kind of this whole kind of hamster wheel where we're in a really good state right now. And we will definitely go into a trough. There will definitely be a bad point where we'll realize that, this hasn't worked, or this is not so good. But the key then is the care part. That will help us get back to where we need to be. And just being able to say, hey, you know what? We're all in this together. If one of us fails, all of us fails. If one of us succeeds, all of us succeed. And that goes back to this idea of, the whole 4 hours a day. I didn't just tell one person to do it. I told all my team leads to do it. And that's across my team leads, my skip leads, everybody. There's like nearly 20, 25 people managers.
Well, this is really important, and I relate a lot to it. So what a great thing that you embrace. I have you talked about a lot of those innovations and what's coming. What is the thing that will not change over the next 10 years in terms of talent attraction, in terms of talent acquisition? What do you think is so important that will remain really unchanged or constant?
It's a really tough question.
Yeah, tough. Ad hoc, I would say, I think Yasar mentioned it before, there will be no change from a candidate market to an employer market. This will, I think, elongate until the next 10 or 15 years. So companies have to attract talent instead of like talent choose the employer. But I think this is one key challenge for the next 10 years. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you're right. What won't change is a really tough one because you usually focus so much on changing, improving, iterating, what's worked, what hasn't worked. I'd say there would be different versions of everything we do. Some will be drastic changes, some won't be drastic changes. I would hate to be the person that says, the recruitment role will still exist in 10 years' time and be proven wrong. I don't believe that anything is indefinite. But I would say, I'd say for the next 10 years, the importance of being inclusive is just going to get more and more important. And I don't think that's going to change. Being inclusive, being more diverse. And I think as the workforce becomes more diverse with the younger generations, that will just get stronger and stronger and more important. And I think diversity and inclusion is already a big thing now. But, we've been talking about this for the last 20 years. So it's now relevant because there's other movements out there that are helping propel this. And I think as the generations become more open-minded, more challenging the status quo, there's going to be people out there who's going to join the company and they say, hey, I'm not joining your company because you have an all-male leadership team. Or I'm not going to join your company because you don't have you don't have that much diversity from underrepresented groups, and I don't feel welcome. And I think it's this idea of feeling welcome, feeling included, and it could happen from every aspect, right? And I think what's going to start happening for us is we're going to start looking at hiring for potential. So I know I've kind of skipped the question and went to what's going to happen as opposed to what's not going to happen. But hopefully that gives some insight into where I believe there will be definitely a lot more focus, a lot more push, and a lot more drive.
Thank you, guys. It's I honestly believe that, as you mentioned, taking care of people, and really that's probably not going to change much because people respond to. You mentioned listening to people, understanding them. I guess these are virtues and important ways of we communicating with each other. Most likely that will, I'm pretty sure people will remain attuned to somebody's being interested in them or taking care of them. They will sense that, and that sense of care, belonging, and authenticity. And of course, what you just said, makes us such a difference. It's been so valuable. Thank you for sharing all these amazing insights and your experience. Just to wrap it up, when you look at the future and in your boldest vision, what is your vision for more brighter a future? What would you like to see in your lifetime happen that really excites you?
Mine is a bit boring, if I'm honest with you. I can share mine. It's not really exciting because all the big ticket items, the big changes, they're not really new. A lot of people would love to see the end of poverty and love to see the embracing of inclusion, but mine is more simple than that. And it's driven by my own selfish want to be like this 100% of the time. My 3 tenets or questions I ask myself, and everybody knows this in my team, I always say, I would love our industry, I would love our leaders, I would love our new organizations to focus on automation first. We don't have time. So by adding tasks or discussing, I think leaders need to come to the table and say, don't do this. How can we automate this? And so automation is my number 1 priority, I would say, for the future, and how we can focus on other things instead of just these manual tasks or whatever it may be. And then second is that I want us as an industry, a TA industry at least, to move away from this idea of, full-scale implementation, but rather iterations and MVP. So continuous iterations, how can we learn fast, fail fast, try fast, create a psychological safety net for us, whether it's new tooling, whether it's new managers, whether it's taking opportunities internally, whatever it may be. The idea of just iterating is better than trying to release a full scale. If you know, Steve Jobs tried to release the iPhone 12 before he'd released the iPhone, it wouldn't have worked, right? You've got to build it up, understand the customers, understand everything you're doing. And then the last thing I think is probably the most important one is just let's try to solve problems, not processes. Let's make it make sense for people, create more human-shaped experiences for people. I think we sometimes are so stuck in our ways from what we know that we need to break our own superstitions and just be more human. So those are my three things I'd like to see in the future.
They're not boring at all, yes. They're fantastic.
Not at all. I have to highlight also the automation part. Jas mentioned why, because we had it in the discussion today. It's like related to diversity and inclusion and equality. So the thing is, we should go away from like hiring what we did in the past as a small company, as a big company, and automate processes and find like sweet spot for hiring managers, for the CEO, for the recruiter, for everyone in that. And I have maybe a boring point here. The thing is like not the pandemic, but the society. In my I studied social science and philosophy, and society is a little bit like not broken, but they are like whirling and not finding back because we are missing human beings, we're missing contact, etc. So what I really want is that the pandemic ends soon, fast, and we all met again in our fantastic offices. And yeah, that's, I would say, my last notes on that.
Amazing. Guys, I just want to say, really, I honor the work you do. Keep spreading that. What a fantastic and really great credit to HelloFresh for attracting such exceptionally gifted leaders like yourself and making really new waves and innovating, pioneering in the world of talent acquisition and talent management overall. Keep spreading that, and thank you for sharing those valuable insights. You've done something great today. That was not just for now, but that can actually guide hopefully many leaders that want to make a difference, and also maybe even future generations that are coming ahead as well. So once again, thank you so much, and blessing you and your work.
Thank you, Marian, for having us. Really, really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you, Marian.